I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gonna teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is out on assignment. A couple of other gentlemen that join us oftentimes, looks like they're out on assignment too, Charles. With that being said, Charles and I will bring it to you. We have the production extraordinaire, the boy Wonder Ja in the background getting it done. So we'll be able to get you a show. So welcome to episode 778 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast. The show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports. For institutions large and small, from the NEIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. With that being said, I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, with my co-host, Charles Bishop. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KSWA's 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer, multi-Hall of Famer, in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas, as we talk about sports. HBCU sports pedagogy is what we like to talk. With that being said, Charles, how are you doing today?
We're doing well, Doc. Of course, we're in the midst of basketball season, but, you know, football is never far from us. So a lot of teams had their recruiting reveal on this past week. So a lot of excitement with regards to the schedules coming out, the recruiting reveal. So, you look up and it'll be SWAC Media Day before you know it.
No doubt. What are you hearing about recruiting? Who feels good? What are the pundits saying out there? Who did it, got it done, and who's still looking to make sure they get some more done?
I mean, everybody feels good about it in February, but you take a look at some national things. Prairie has done well. Jackson State, again, another stellar recruiting class. A lot of excitement around Southern right now, but you know, the early part of February, everybody feels great about their football.
I like the way you put that. Yeah, everybody feels they did their thing. Yeah. Celebrating and taking it home. Well, today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THD Agency. THD Agency is a company that provides sporting, educational, consulting, and data analytics. With that being said, Charles, jump back in there and give us some other news. What do you want to bring to the table as we are looking at what's hot and what's not?
Yeah, let's look at some basketball weekly honors this week. We'll start with the SWAC as the SWAC tab Jackson State's Deshaun Ruffin, Prairie View's Terrion Joseph, and Alabama A&M's Corin Davis with the SWAC men's basketball weekly honors. Let's start off by looking at Deshaun Ruffin, as he was a key contributor for Jackson State this past week, as he averaged a league-leading 36.5 points per game to go along with 6.5 assists. The impact player of the week was Terrion Joseph. He poured in a game-high 31 while shooting 11 of 23 from the field, knocking down 5 3-pointers as Prairie View defeated Texas Southern. He also played all 40 minutes in that contest and was a key contributor also on the defensive end of the floor for Prairie View. And the newcomer of the week is Corin Davis. He helped Alabama A&M go 1-1 this past week as he averaged 22 points and 5.5 rebounds, 1.5 steals, and 1 assist. He posted 22 points in the games against Florida A&M and Bethune-Cookman, while also shooting 44% from behind the three-point line. So those were your SWAC men's weekly honors.
Good stuff when you get into the weekly honors for the SWAC. Congratulations to all the basketball players out there in terms of the SWAC. Let's look at the men's weekly honors for the MEAC.
No doubt. Let's take a look.
Boy, things have changed on the MEAC side, Charles, in terms of standings. You jump out the first 4 wins and then you hit 3 straight. That's tough, boy.
And we asked, could they keep it going? But let's take a look at the men's weekly honors here in the MEAC. As the MEAC announced this past week that Morgan State's Alfred Worrell Jr. Was named the Player of the Week. Marlon Harris, his teammate, he earned Defensive Player of the Week, and Coppin State's Davion Littner was selected as the Rookie of the Week. Let's look at Alfred Worrell, the 6'4", 210-pound DC native, powered Morgan State to 2 conference victories over Norfolk State and Coppin State. He poured in 33 against Norfolk State, sealing a dramatic 79-78 win with a clutch pull-up jumper in the closing moments. He followed that with a game-high 24 points against Coppin State, shooting 50% from the field in both contests. So for the week, he also added 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. His teammate Marlon Harris, 6'9", from Inglewood, California. He controlled the glass, recording a career-high 14 rebounds, along with 6 blocks and 2 steals in Morgan State's 1-point win over Norfolk State. He also added 5 rebounds and 1 steal and 3 blocks against Coppin State, as he averaged 9.5 rebounds per game and totaled 9 blocks, Dr. Bill, and 3 steals as the Bears finished 2-0 in conference play this past week. And the new Rookie of the Week was Davion Littner from Coppin State. The 6'4" freshman from York, Pennsylvania, contributed 5 points, 3 rebounds, and 2 assists against Morgan State. So a couple other notable performances in the MEAC. DeMontre Hall from Coppin State, he shot 80% from the field to score 12 points and grabbed 3 rebounds against Morgan State. Bryce Harris from Howard recorded 27 points and 8 rebounds and 2 assists and 1 block versus Norfolk State. So those are some other notables around the MEAC.
Shout out to the MEAC notables, players getting it done. 9 blocks right there. Well, almost got that double when you talk about it like that. That's big time.
That's protecting the rim.
Yeah, it won't let you up there at all. I want to get into this sport pedagogy. You know, we always talk about the HBCU sports business. Check this out, Charles. Let me know what you think of this. Morgan State homecoming shows economic power of HBCUs from HBCU game day. I think we talked about that in terms of classics, oftentimes the economic impact they have, or particular, we look at it oftentimes in football for a particular game. But first time I really seen somebody do the study, or at least released it out there in terms of homecoming specifically, which by nature, you know, does well. But this one hits home with some numbers, Charles. HBCU homecoming has long been celebrated for culture, tradition, and football. This is coming out of HBCUGameDay.com. But at Morgan State University, it is also providing to be big business. According to a recent economic impact study, Morgan State's homecoming generated nearly $19 million for the city of Baltimore, reinforcing how HBCUs function as powerful economic engines for their communities. The study was commissioned by Morgan State University and conducted by eConsult Solutions. Inc. found that homecoming week activities produced more than $22 million in regional economic output and nearly $23 million statewide across Maryland. Visitor spending, job creation, and tax revenue all surged during one of the university's most visible athletic culture weekends of the year. For HBCUs nationwide, Morgan State's numbers provide tangible proof of what fans and alumni already know. When HBCUs activate, their traditions, cities benefit. The numbers behind Morgan State's impact, Morgan State homecoming, drew tens of thousands of alumni, students, and visitors to Baltimore. According to the study, attendees spent heavily on hotels, as you would imagine, restaurants, got to eat, transportations, got to get around, retail, buy you some new gear, particularly some paraphernalia oftentimes. That would be intriguing. Entertainment, driving more than $15 million in direct visitor spending. That influx supported close to 100 jobs within the city and more than 150 jobs statewide, generating nearly 7 million employees' compensation. The activity also resulted in more than $600K in state tax revenue. underscoring how major HBCU events contribute to not only culturally but physically. Important analysis was conducted by eConsult Solutions, Inc., a third-party economic consulting firm that regularly evaluates large-scale university and multiple events. The independent lens adds credibility to findings in strengthening the broader case for HBCU events. With that being said, Charles, give me some of your thoughts in terms of these economic numbers and how, if you multiplied that, homecoming by homecoming that we think about across multiple HBCUs, think about how large that economic impact is from city to city, state to state, particularly as a collective.
And it is a tremendous economic impact. And I guess when I read this article, the thing that jumped out at me is how do we leverage this in terms of going back to you touched on something in terms of state and local revenue. I mean, how do you go back to legislatures around these HBCUs go back to government, and how do you go about the process of leveraging these numbers for added benefits down the line? So that was the thing that as I was reading, I was starting to kind of wonder, okay, like how do we use the information for the good?
That's a very important question. And one of the things is, first you have to have the numbers. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes you go, whether it's to the legislatures and legislative bodies, or you do businesses and you tell them the story, but you don't necessarily have the data to back it up. So you continue to tell the stories, which most of us associated already do, but now you have the numbers to support. So oftentimes it can come back in the forms of being able to get sponsorships. Now sponsors know directly. And so there's also a component of this about making sure that you go targeting. And I'm sure that's not on this data, but I'm sure that they have some information of where people were going. So now you can go back to those places and ask for that dollar. Now, the next step is to get back to your fans and have some touch points where you educate your fans and saying, hey, continue to have a good time, but these are places that you need to consider spending your dollars because they're supporting us. So sometimes it's also going to be the fact that you got to pull that dollars out. So it's about educating everybody, not just the businesses, not just state, city, local legislators, municipalities, but it's also educating your fan base.
Yeah.
So they're more wise about where they spend their dollars. They're going to spend the dollars, but where you spend those dollars, once you have this information and you start sharing it, it becomes more important to talk about, all right, let's be strategic as fans. We're going to go. Now you can also start going to hotels and saying, all right, we'd like to use this hotel. We want this kind of rate. You see what we do, but we're going to organize now and make sure we push the fans towards your particular hotels.
And particularly, I think you saw that in regards to the CIAA in terms of using the numbers for their benefit in terms of where they were going to have their CIAA tournament, but taking that sort of same mindset, especially taking a look at homecoming events. And I think, I've heard some very interesting commentary 4 or 5 years ago, especially around Jackson State when they were doing economic feasibility studies of what homecoming did. And back then, I know Coach Prime was talking about, you take a percentage of, the tax that you're getting from car rentals and hotels, funnel that back into the athletic programs, or funnel that back into the university, because it could be very beneficial, especially in regards to, what you're able to take in and can disperse back to the athletic department. So,
yeah, I think he's right, but also I think there's the part of it that these folks are not dumb. They knew that HBCUs were generating this kind of money. They may not have specific numbers of where they were, but they knew this. So also it is about you leveraging that these folks have been able to get away with not necessarily supporting you for years. So I'm not sure how much good faith you can put in them to say, if we just come to you and say, hey, won't you give some of that money back? Now you got to leverage that in terms of saying, if you don't give that back, we're going to go spend it somewhere else. And I think that's a point where which was really important about your question of how you do it. Oftentimes how you do it is doing it. I mean, and oftentimes you hear people talking about economic boycott. It's a reason why they put that out there.
Sure.
And it's about saying, hey, we're spending this dollars. We want reciprocity in terms of you supporting us. If you don't, then there's going to be some repercussions for your decision. It's not personal. As everybody else like to say, it's business. But I'm here to tell you, I don't think folks are going to do it just off of good faith.
Sure.
If they would, they would already been doing it, and they're not, because you're talking about getting more money. You have to do a little more. Let's take our first break. Great dialogue. Let's take our first break. Come back on the other side. Let's look at the mid-major division. I'll give you an update on the men's side. Top 5. See what's changed around. See if you have any headaches on the top 5. We'll get a little more discussion about that. Maybe some key matchups as well as we get through that. So let's take our first break, come back on the other side and do just that.
From cancer care to accidental injuries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life. But with Globe Life Family Heritage, you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com. With over 25 years of serving communities, Dr. Beverly Eagles Rogers is here to help you and your family through difficult times. Dr. Beverly takes pride in Globe Life being one of the few companies that returns 100% of premiums to clients that stay healthy. So for more information, call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com.
And we have to fund our kids in these colleges, and we have to make sure our kids have seats in these colleges.
And what about HBCUs? You mentioned.
Absolutely. You got to fund them all, and you got to make sure they're properly funded. You know, the real reason why I went after Comcast and Charter, it didn't have anything to do with my cable networks. It didn't. What happened was a gentleman wanted to do the Black College Sports Network in partnership with the HBCUs. And Comcast did not accept it. And that would have made a lot of money for these black colleges.
Absolutely.
And it would have educated the Black College Sports Network. This is what he wanted to do. That would have educated a lot of black kids. And when they didn't do that, that's when I came off the bench and said, okay, I'm going to light you up like a Christmas tree. Okay. That was the real reason why I got into it, was when I saw what happened with the Black College Sports Network, which I don't own. I just knew.
Why didn't you buy it?
I just knew. I just knew that these black.
I like that talk.
All right. I knew that these black colleges were going to benefit, and these black kids were going to get the education that they deserved and not have to pay.
There's a shot. To right. It could be. Right field. Grand slam. What a shot. That's how you get hot, young fella.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do, and all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
Movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Charles, let me get a couple of updates here for you on the women's side of scores. We have a Tennessee State update out of the OVC, if you would. Give you an update what's taking place there, as that game is 3:46 in the third, as Tennessee State is at home, but they're losing to Eastern Illinois 44-33. Can also give you some updates in the SWAC. There are no women games scheduled this Thursday in the MEAC. We do have a game at halftime. That is Jackson State on the road at Arkansas Pine Bluff. Woo! They are losing early, big, 42-24. Golden Lions have come out ready to play, it looks like. It's a matchup for two teams that are 4-5, trying to get to that 500 mark. Big game there. Halftime, Prairie View is at least keeping it relatively close on the road at FAMU, 35-28. And you have 146 left in Daytona with Texas Southern on the road at Bethune-Cookman. Texas Southern is losing early in that contest, 14-12. You have Alabama State at Southern. That game tips off at 6 o'clock. And then you have a 6:30 game tipping off in Grambling with Alabama A&M on the road there. And then you have a 7 o'clock tip-off with Alcorn State at Mississippi Valley State in terms of those matchups. Before we get into pulling up, we have Hampton. It's early with 11:27. This is on the men's side, Charles. 10-9. Elon is up by 1 early in that matchup. Then you have North Carolina A&T. They're on the road at Charleston, and that game has A&T losing early in that matchup, 19-22, with 6:49 in the first. Again, those last two were the men's scores. So let's get into the mid-major. Let's bring that up so we can talk about those dropping out this week in the mid-major. In the mid-major, as you see, you have no team dropping out. So let's look at those teams that are receiving votes. Morehouse is in the mix in terms of what's going on there.
Ooh.
This is week 4, so this is last week. I'm gonna read it off so you can see that. I knew something was up because Morehouse has jumped in the top 5.
Okay.
After the big victory last week. So let me do this. You have dropping out this week is actually Philander Smith. Okay. The Panthers dropped out 13-5, 6-3. They're the only team that dropped out this week and kind of ruined it a little bit there for you. But I told you Morehouse is jumping in, but you have to wait. And let me tell you where they jump in at. Let's go to those receiving votes. That's Clark Atlanta. The Panthers sit at 14-6, 12-5 in conference play. You have Xavier Rush at 13-7, 10-5, if you would. You have Stillman Tigers sitting at 13-9, 9-2. You have Florida Memorial Lions sitting at 15-7, 7-3 in terms of conference play at 16 points. Philander Smith that dropped out, they still are receiving votes to the last one, if you would, at 13-5 and 6-3 out of the HBCUAC. The top 5 look like this. At number 5, you have Miles Golden Bears. They stay at 5, 14-5, 12-5, 34 points. Tuskegee Golden Tigers come in at 4 and stay at the 4th spot. Morehouse jumps into the poll and they jump all the way up to number 3.
Okay.
Morehouse Maroon Tigers sit at 13-7, 13-3, 53 points. So we're not ranked as you see last week. They were at the 6th spot and they essentially jumped all the way to 3 with the big victory over Tuskegee in terms of what took place there. So kudos when you had the two teams sitting in first place in their respective divisions matchup. You got a really exciting ball game there. At number 2, you have Langston Lions. They sit at 17-4, 12-3, 4 first place votes, 68 points in number 2. And number 1 is Virginia Union Panthers. They remain there. They've gotten up to 20 wins on the season. They sit at 3, 9-2, 6 first place votes, first team that we have out there reached the 20-win mark. And no one's really close in terms of getting the next one is 17 by those Langston Lions. So kudos to Virginia Union, not only playing good basketball, but really playing some good basketball in terms of being able to get to 20 wins, 79 points, and they remain in the first spot. With that being said, Charles, tell me, what are your thoughts on week number 5, if you would, the rankings?
Yeah, Virginia Union deserving number 1, but I think the big mover and shaker in the poll this week, obviously Morehouse, huge win over Tuskegee, and over their last 10 games, they won 9 out of their last 10. The only loss being to a Howard team back there on Martin Luther King weekend. But I tell you what, they're playing tremendous basketball right now. The impressive thing, looking at Langston here on the poll, they got 4 guys scoring in double figures in conference play, but it's their defense that's leading the way. They're number 1 in the Sooner Athletic Conference in defense, and they are, holding opponent field goal percentage. Anytime you hold opponents under 40%, that you're doing something. And Langston sitting at 39%, I should say, in terms of opponents' field goal percentage. So that's tremendous when you take a look at what they're doing week in, week out, and then they don't let you shoot threes. I think that's very important in today's game, where we see it free flowing and going back up and down the court. Teams only shooting 30% on them in the Sooner Athletic Conference. So a very impressive team is Langston, and it'll be kind of interesting going forward watching Langston. Of course, we know we've watched them make that deep run once they get in March. So this team is shaping up, kind of doing some of the same things.
Yeah, I think Langston has a chance to make a deep run. I'm really intrigued about Virginia Union. The way they're playing, you have to think that they can make a deep run as well. So that's a lot of fascinating work there in terms of what that looks like. Also, when you talk about that a little bit, any matchups that kind of have your eye in terms of the CIAA, SIAC, or even maybe the NIA, anything sticks out to you in terms of key matchups that we need to keep our eyes on this week, mid-major? Obviously, we were spoiled last week. You don't always get those kind of matchups with number 1 in the East versus number 1 in the West. What you got?
I'm just paying attention to it, just from the standpoint of teams getting on the road this weekend, and just kind of seeing what happens. Miles at Benedict, Tuskegee at Allen. I can see that. I can see that. Just paying attention.
One certainly keep your eyes on in terms of what they might be able to get done. We should be good with the mid-major poll ranking. So we'll take our break and bring you back, and we'll get into some major division talk, and we'll unveil that presentation in terms of the top 5 for the men's major division in week number 5 right after this break. This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube, Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
When it comes to professional learning, teachers deserve better. From the leader in online learning, Stride brings you the Stride Professional Development Center, an on-demand library of mobile-friendly courses that gives teachers choice and flexibility, allowing them to learn anytime and anywhere. Our dynamic courses provide bite-sized learning and help educators advance their knowledge while also gaining professional development hours. It's time you take charge of your learning. Visit us today to get started.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Charles Bishop. Time to get into the major division. I'm excited about the rankings here. I think a lot of folks will be interested. But every week it seems to be some excitement because while you have one team that may have kind of pushed themselves out in front of the other one, another team seems to be making a statement. There are many teams, I will say this, that are really in the similar positions in terms of, for the SWAC at least, that have hit the midway mark. And to some degree, you have that also in the MEAC. For some teams have really kind of pushed past that midway mark. But these three teams dropped out this past week. Jackson State Tigers sit at 5-4. Florida A&M Rattlers sit at 5-4. And they had a nice battle last week. They looked like maybe Jackson State was getting them a little bit of momentum. FAMU certainly has been on a tough stretch. But I think the one that will surprise you to some degree is Maryland Eastern Shore. Yes. The Hawks sit at 4-3. They jumped out top of the poll rankings and kind of slowly hit the skids over essentially 1 week period. They had that makeup game. And so you have these three losses maybe in the matter of a week's time. So fascinating when you look at that. So I want to get your thoughts on that for sure. But let's continue to go, and we'll come back to your thoughts on that. Let's look at those receiving votes. Maryland Hawks, Maryland Eastern Shore Hawks, I should say, are just outside of the top five, so they didn't fall very far in terms of total things. I guess coming out of that number one ranking a couple of weeks ago, I guess you could say that's a more precipitous fall. Now you have also Alabama A&M Bulldogs sit at 5-4, 39. This 5-4 thing you're going to hear quite a bit, Charles. Mm-hmm. Southern Jaguars also in the top five. They sit at 5-4 with 30 points. Jackson State Tigers. Guess what, Charles?
5-4.
And if that didn't spoil you enough, we can go to Florida A&M Rattlers sitting at 5-4.
5-4.
So you have that gluttony of teams right there in the SWAC. But look at some of these teams in this top five. Let's start with number 5. Number 5, jumping in here is Tennessee State Tigers, 8-4, 73. They were not ranked. They had 3 games last week, too. They got 2 of them, but a Monday that really probably would have voted all the way up was a tough loss. They were able to get it done on Saturday when you thought they were going down, and they fought back and got the win. They brought this game after they were down pretty big. Last couple of minutes of the game, they were able to get to 2, but couldn't quite get over the hump, and they lost that matchup on Monday. But look at number 4. Number 4 is a University Arkansas Pine Bluff, UAPB. The Golden Lions sit at 6-3, 73 points, and they were not ranked. They also had a makeup game. They played at Grambling and shifted. You'd either had even more teams at 5-4 in pushing it up. But Golden Lions, surprising some folks, started off pretty solid, took a couple of hits, and it seemed like people maybe forgot about them, and they're saying, hold on. They actually sit, Charles, second place alone in the conference.
Yeah.
With that being said, let's move to number 3, where we're going to take you out of the SWAC with Pine Bluff into the MEAC with another team, Morgan State, that has quietly put impressive wins together. They sit at 5-2, second place in the MEAC with 86 points. They were not ranked, put several wins together, and now they are taking care of business as they are number 3 in week number 5. Let's move on to number 2. This is an old friend of those that follow MEAC basketball, HBCU basketball with North Carolina Central, the Eagles. They sit at 4-1. They're at top of the MEAC. Coach Moulton has his Eagles flying for first place vote. Big win this past week, including the win over Maryland Eastern Shore, 103 points, and they move all the way up to the 2 spot from number 5. Number 1, new number 1 this week, the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. They closed out the first half of the regular season. I think a lot of people had told everybody about Bethune-Cookman, but they started off slow. The good thing about them starting off slow, though, Charles, fact that they were able to win the games. They were close games, but they were winning a lot of games.
Yeah.
They closed out the first half of SWAC at 8-1. 2-game lead over those Golden Lions at 6-3. 6 first place votes, 105 points. Move up to 1 spot from 2, but they hold that number 1 spot there, Charles. What are your thoughts in terms of the top 5 as you have the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats move into that number 1 spot? Will they relinquish this week or over the couple of weeks, or will they find a way to hold on to it? And
I tell you what, in a league with a lot of parity, Bethune-Cookman is starting to separate themselves.
Yeah.
8-1, Jacoby Hetty. He's a tough individual, gets in the lane, gets downhill. There have been multiple games where he's gotten to the free throw line in double-digit attempts. You know, they're a very, very difficult team to deal with because they get multiple scoring from multiple places, I should say. So Bethune-Cookman's kind of separated themselves. I think what you see in the SWAC is a glut of good teams that just aren't Bethune-Cookman. So it makes it for a very interesting weekend, especially the Texas 2 teams going over to Florida this weekend. Those are going to be interesting matchups, and I'm going to keep my eye on. And we'll see if Bethune-Cookman can keep the momentum going. You take a look at the rest of the poll. Puzzling loss for Tennessee State to lose to Tennessee Tech at home, a team they beat by 12 back in December. And Tennessee State's been playing really good basketball at home, so that was a puzzling loss. I think the team that I've seen up close, Arkansas Pine Bluff, really, really good basketball team. Keon Williams, one of the top scorers in the conference, also one of the top assist guys in the conference as well. So he's a big guard who can get in the lane and really cause a lot of havoc. And when, like you see with the majority of the SWAC, when those guards get downhill, get in the lane, and kick it out, if that team is knocking down some threes, they're very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. When you talk about what's going on there, I got to ask you in terms of North Carolina Central and the MEAC. Where are you with that in Morgan State? You gave a great breakdown in terms of Tennessee State outside what we call the independent, obviously in the OVC. Broke down the SWAC, top teams, those that are hunting, if you would. But in the MEAC, Norfolk State is not their usual Norfolk State team.
Right.
Central is ascended to the top. Can they hold on? What are your thoughts about these Morgan State Bears? Do they have a little magic in their pocket?
Well,
are they for real?
I think they are for real. I think we saw Alfred Worrell, Player of the Week this past week for Morgan State, playing some really good basketball. They won 5 in a row. I'm really kind of looking forward to their matchup this weekend, where they take on. Let me. I was just looking at it. Maryland Eastern Shore, reeling Maryland Eastern Shore in Baltimore, and then they go to South Carolina State. That was a tricky one for me because South Carolina State can trip them up at home. So I'm really paying attention to what Morgan State does this weekend. And then I know we're going to talk about it, but we said it last week. Now never for Norfolk State. It's almost looking like never. And guess who's coming into town? North Carolina Central. So
it's not necessarily the team that you want to get right. We will, on the other side, go a little deeper in terms of those matchups. We'll break them up for you and get some further thoughts on that. But overall, it sounds like you're in agreement with Bethune-Cookman Wildcats being at number 1. You pretty much said that they have separated themselves the real deal, so don't expect them to falter, particularly falter enough to drop out of that 1 seat. Beautiful that they have the 2-game lead. Give a lot of credit to the Golden Lions. You talked about how they are really talented, and this is not an accident. Be interesting to see what they're able to do the second half of the season. Can they show that they are the real deal going into the tournament.
2 players on that team, Keon Williams and Jaquan Scott. They're going to be, I think, first team all SWAC. I mean, they're tremendous basketball players.
Texas Southern, it looked like they were going to make a move. They went down to the rivalry in Prairie View. Had Helter Joseph that gave them 30+, 31 to be exact, and took down Texas Southern that was playing some good basketball. What are your thoughts in terms of the Texas side of things between Texas Southern and Prairie View? What do you see them for the back half of the season moving forward?
Well, I going into that game, I had really liked the play of Texas Southern's guards. Texas Southern's guards had really been coming on. I think they had stability, especially with Alex Anderson running the point for them. But you give a lot of credit to Prairie View, especially Terry and Joseph. And I've always said, it's just tough playing down there at Prairie View in the Baby Dome, especially a rivalry. But though that game is setting up, in terms of the last game on the SWAC schedule for both teams. But Texas Southern, this is an important weekend for them, especially going to Florida A&M first, and then Bethune-Cookman on Monday. So they need to figure out how to get 1-1, coming out of this weekend. So, but I'm really looking forward to that matchup. And Texas Southern, they're still just a wild card to me, because that's a team that can vault themselves over a 2-3 week period.
Good stuff. We'll take our last break, and like I said, we'll come back and look at some of these matchups. We'll come back, also give you some updates in terms of scores on the women's side of things, as you have your Thursday showcase in the SWAC. We'll give you an update on a couple of independent men games there, as well as the women independent Tennessee State. We'll let you know what's taking place at that. With that, let's take our last break. We'll come back on the other side, and we'll do a little bit more about basketball this week in terms of the poll ranking. That's week number 5. We'll be right back after this last break.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
From cancer care to accidental injuries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life. But with Globe Life Family Heritage, you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com. With over 25 years of serving communities, Dr. Beverly Eagles Rogers is here to help you and your family through difficult times. Dr. Beverly takes pride in Globe Life being one of the few companies that returns 100% of premiums to clients that stay healthy. So for more information, call Dr. Beverly Eagle Rogers at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at globelifefamilyheritage.com.
Are you hungry for authentic Caribbean food like jerk chicken, oxtail, red snapper, shrimp, tofu, and rasta pasta? Well, find your way over to Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta.
Them belly full, but we hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, open daily from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And on Friday and Saturday, we're open till 4 a.m. Come to Mango's and put some spice in your life.
Oh, we've got a good thing going.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, 180 Auburn Avenue, right next to Royal Peacock in downtown Atlanta. For more info or directions, call 404-698-3992 or log on to mangoscaribbeanrestaurant.com. For instant coupons, text MANGOS to 313131.
Tell your mama hungry, papa hungry, brother hungry.
Mango's Caribbean Restaurant, authentic Caribbean cuisines.
Open up the door, tell them mama hungry.
When you're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics, there's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I have the TSU Bethune-Cookman game live on SWAC TV. Texas Southern is down on the road still, 34-41 to the Wildcats. The Lady Wildcats are getting it done. Let me see if I can get you some other ones here as well in terms of these other scores, as we just have the Alabama A&M at Grambling go to break. Let me give you the Prairie View update, see if we got any score there. Prairie View still trying to stay in there on the road with the Rattlers. It's 44-49 with 2:41 left in the third. So keep your eyes on what's taking place there. The other games are getting going as things match up. As we said, see if I can get you some other stuff here in terms of some of those matchups as we get going for what those look like. We go out of the OVC. Tennessee State is still trailing 61-53 with 2:52 left in the fourth. Going back to the SWAC in terms of the other games, the only one left to not have started is the Alcorn State of Mississippi Valley, as I said. You have Jackson State on the road at Arkansas Pine Bluff, 57-35 with 3:27 left. You have Southern down to Alabama State at home, Charles, 30-27 at the half. A little surprising there. And you have Grambling, Alabama. I have that here early in that matchup. Alabama A&M is up just 11-10 with 4:35 left on the first quarter in that.
Keep an eye on that one, Dr. Bill.
Okay.
That's the one that I called out. Yeah.
You did. Prairie View, as I said, the FAMU 49-45. Texas Southern at the half, losing to the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman 41-36. So that's what you got going on that side. Let me check out the men, give you your last updates here. You have A&T at Charleston. It's at the half. Charleston is leading 41-37. You have Hampton that is leading now. Elon 33-31. 51 seconds left in the half. That being said, let me go to the MEAC. Let's get into some of these matchups. You teased out some, but I'm going to list them all for you and see what you have your eyes on, and then some thoughts on a couple of other matchups. Maryland Eastern Shore and Morgan State. Obviously, Morgan State playing really good at home. Eastern Shore is starting to struggle now. Even though they lost the game, they have been close, so it'll be fascinating to see what that looks like. That is a 3 o'clock start time, tip time for that one. You have North Carolina Central at Norfolk State. Those teams really bang it out when they get together, and Central gets a chance to really kind of separate themselves from a lot of folks. So we'll see what that looks like. Delaware State at Coppin State. You have South Carolina State at Howard, and Howard's one of those teams that says, don't forget about us. Yeah, we've had some ups and downs, but they played pretty well there. When you look at those matchups, what are your thoughts?
The two that I'm paying attention to, I think Maryland Eastern Shore and Morgan State. That one, let's see if Maryland Eastern Shore really did hit that wall. Like you said, it started out at 4-0, and they've dropped their last 3 now. So, and then, of course, North Carolina Central at Norfolk State. Something, it's Custer's last stand, if you will, for Norfolk State with North Carolina Central coming in. So, you can get something up and going if you can get the win over the top team in the conference.
Yeah, you can make a statement with that. You get to 400. Obviously, you're just 2 games back with them having that loss, and you would have a win, depending on point differential. You start looking at that in terms of ties and matchup. But let's go also to Monday. Monday, you have a Yale at Howard matchup, non-conference wise, and you have Delaware State at North Carolina Central. So intriguing what that looks like, light on the Monday, but that's what you have in the MEAC. Obviously, Central really has to look at Norfolk State, but they can't take Delaware State lightly. But they can really, if they can get those 2 wins, boy, you have to start thinking a little different about the Eagles as they start to look to close things out. Let's get into the Ohio Valley, that matchup with 9-14 versus 14-8. Tennessee State has to find a way to win these home games. They're going to stay in their race. A couple of games out of first.
Got to get those 2 wins.
And then you got Saturday have Western Illinois.
Yeah.
Western Illinois is just 4-19.
Yeah.
You got to find a way to get that.
2 teams at the bottom of the conference. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta find a way to get those. You're right back in business. Start feeling good about yourself. Let's go into the SWAC. Saturday, Alabama State at Grambling. You have the Prairie at Bethune-Cookman. I'm interested in that match.
I'm a healthy.
Prairie's healthy. I know you certainly know Coach Smith is looking at making a statement in terms of how he closed out with Prairie View. Got a couple of extra days. Sneaky good for me. Then you got Texas Southern and FAMU. Somebody needs this win to get right. Feel good about themselves at least.
Yeah.
In the matchup. And if you're Texas Southern, you're on the road. The rule is in the SWAC split. You probably want the FAMU. Then you kind of get greedy and see what you can do with Bethune-Cookman.
Better get Saturday if you're Texas Southern.
Got the rivalry, Mississippi rivalry. Jackson at Mississippi Valley State. Hadn't had a win. Played some intriguing games. Obviously a rivalry. Jackson State struggled a little bit. Even though they've been close games, it's hard to say a team struggling just because they lose. But we'll see what that means. You have Alabama A&M at Southern. These teams right there, 4-5, trying to separate themselves. I think this is just an interesting matchup because of that. You also have that old Grambling Southern as coaches moved over to Alabama A&M, so they know each other. So that's fascinating for me as well. Then you have Alcorn State at Pine Bluff. Of those matchups, anything tickle your fancy a little bit there?
The matchups, of course, we talked about Texas Southern and Florida A&M. That's a huge one for both teams on Saturday, especially Texas Southern going. You got Bethune-Cookman on Monday, so Bethune-Cookman at home, tough team to deal with. Alabama A&M and Southern is also intriguing. Both of them, sitting right there in the median of the conference. And like we talked about, Prairie View going to Bethune-Cookman on Saturday. Let's see what a healthy Terry and Joseph can do against this Bethune-Cookman team that, they do a great job on the boards. And then they block some shots, too. I think they're number 1 in the conference and in block shots. So Terry and Joseph, whether he can get hot in that game.
Good stuff. Got one hot off the press for you. No, we're talking about the men's teams, but we're giving you some updates for women. We got a women's game in the SIAC. Benedict women upset number 16 in the nation, Miles.
What?
Big win by Benedict women, giving it the business to Miles. Appreciate that update, Ja. With that being said, let's look at the Monday games. Charles, you always tell us to look at the Monday game.
Beware of the odds of Monday.
With that being said, tell me what you see of these matchups. Which one is the one that's going to get them? Jackson State at Pine Bluff. Texas Southern at Bethune-Cookman. Prairie View at FAMU. Alabama A&M at Grambling State. Alcorn State at Mississippi Valley State. Alabama State at Southern. You have a game or two that you say, hey, this one is not talking about winning, but the upset style. You see anything here that gives you pause?
Gives me pause. Jackson State on the road at Pine Bluff. Paying attention to that one.
That was what I was thinking about.
Gives me pause. But we talked about Texas Southern at Bethune-Cookman. what could happen with that game, especially depending on what happens with Saturday. Can Texas Southern, can they get a Saturday win and get greedy? You got a good slate on Monday because Prairie View and Florida A&M, that's another good one that I'm paying attention to as well. So Monday is going to be really, really fun, especially if a team has a little momentum coming out of Saturday. Alabama A&M Grambling, that's another one. Like I said, you got a lot of teams that are really good there in the SWAC and Bethune-Cookman. So you got some good matchups here.
Let's do this. SWAC, midway mark. What are your grades? Let's look at a couple of those teams. Let's start with Bethune-Cookman. Where do you grade them based on? Also, I want you to do grade, not just where they are record-wise, but add in your grade based on the predicted. What did they go in? So you can do a little curve or punish folks based on that. But let's go with Bethune-Cookman. We won't do all of them, but maybe top couple of teams in the rankings may dip a little bit with so many teams at 5 and 4. Starting with Bethune-Cookman, what are your thoughts on them on the men's side?
No, I think Bethune-Cookman is a solid A. I think they've lived up to expectations in terms of what we thought Reggie Theus was going to put out there on the floor. A couple of players, especially that they brought back, and it's been cohesive on the floor thus far. Only one loss in conference play.
Good stuff. Let's go with Pine Bluff, sitting at 6 and 3, 2 games back. Big wins, tough losses.
Yeah, if you want to be honest, I think they're deserving of an A as well because I didn't have Pine Bluff here in the upper echelon of the SWAC.
I can see that. Won 3 straight, playing really good basketball, surprising everybody. Yeah, they've taken that curve and they jumped in. I like that A grade for them.
Yeah,
Alabama A&M. We're gonna do these next 4 maybe, and then I'll dip in and think your thought. Maybe a couple of ones at the bottom. See where you at. Southern, 5 and 4. Preseason, obviously.
Yeah, that's a C. Yeah.
FAMU at 5 and 4. New coach. Started off hot, kind of fell back a little bit. So.
Actually, not thinking Florida A&M was going to be doing quite a bit. I think they're a solid B.
Yeah. Good stuff. Jackson State at 5 and 4. Curious to where you are with that.
C.
Okay.
Yeah.
Grambling State at 4 and 4. New coach comes over from FAMU.
Yeah. I think I was probably expecting a little more from Grambling. So right now they would be a C.
Alabama State. Well, let me go with Prairie View 4 and 5 first. Where are you with Prairie View?
C.
Alabama State, after winning the championship, lost a lot, but people are still excited about it. 4 and 5. Had some big wins, but tough losses.
Yeah, big wins.
Is an issue.
Yeah, and just wasn't impressed when I put the eyeballs on them. So, they probably C minus, to be honest with you.
All right. Texas Southern, consistency we just talked about. I think it fits them squarely. Where are you with Texas Southern sitting in 4 and 5?
They showed flashes, but they are C.
Good stuff. Good breakdown. I guess we're there. So we'll go ahead and do the last 2. Alcorn State Braves sit at 3 and 5.
Yeah, at the midpoint, they got to take the class over again right now. So, they got the alert sent out for them, like, hey, where are they? Where are they at the midpoint?
Yeah. They need some tutorial bad. Yeah. I hate to see what you're gonna say about the Delta Devils, Mississippi Valley. They said at 0 and 8, obviously didn't have a lot of thoughts going in there, so you got to think about that.
Yeah. That's
below expectation, not getting a win, or
but I would have expected them to at least have a win by now. So that's unfortunately that's going to be the F right there. So,
yeah. I get it. I think you were very fair in your grades. Good analysis. Same page where you are. With that, we'll bring it to a close. I want to say thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share a podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab. In the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Phil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock. Central Standard Time. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil. That's DrKenyatta. That's on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyatta Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. I did have a good time at the Prairie View A&M debut. That was good stuff. Chopped it up. Folks out there excited, Charles.
Who are the teams that didn't have a reveal?
That is an indication of what they're going to do with attendance this year. We'll see, but a lot of teams are getting sold.
Yeah.
What were you going to say there, Charles?
I said, who are the teams that didn't have a reveal? I mean, this is important stuff. People want to get excited about your team.
Yeah. Tell them that's what you call basic marketing and branding. Why are you doing it? Green Bay, continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon, Charles.
Of course.
Lecture. Let's see if I can get John here to say dismissed.
Dismissed.
Good job.